Today I'll be talking about an idea that I had which probably doesn't have too much of a chance of actually becoming real, which I'll discuss reasons for a little bit later, but I just thought it'd be fun to talk about this subject anyways. What if there was a Super Mario Odyssey theme in Mario Maker 2? Now I, like most people, was genuinely shocked when Nintendo revealed that a 3D world theme would be coming to Mario Maker 2, because this is definitely an unprecedented move. Turning a 3D Mario style into 2D and allowing you to create levels with it is a very unique idea, and something that Nintendo really came out of left field with. But as we get further away from the announcement of Mario Maker 2, it starts to sink in a little bit more and make a lot more sense. Super Mario 3D World is probably the closest 3D Mario game to the style of the 2D Mario titles, it along with 3D Land. So it makes sense for a simple conversion of that game's style to be implemented into 2D for Mario Maker 2. However, with the Odyssey style, there are certain roadblocks that probably won't allow that to actually happen. But that's not going to stop me from talking about it. In this video, I'm going to be discussing how I think it would work and why I think it would be very fun to see this type of style included if it's implemented in the right way. If you're new here, remember to subscribe and click the bell icon before we get started. And with that being said, let's get right into this. One of the main hurdles that Super Mario Odyssey would have to jump over in order to be properly implemented into Mario Maker 2 is to remove the power-up section entirely. This is one of the main reasons why I believe that this type of style wouldn't have too much of a chance to be included, because I can't just see Nintendo completely getting rid of the power-up section like this. However, as we did see with the 3D World style, it looks like you may not be able to convert certain objects from that style into the other ones that were already in the game, unlike Mario Maker 1, where every style was able to convert with each other and you could share objects across them. So technically, you could have this entirely unique theme with Mario Odyssey, where it doesn't share any of the stuff with the power-ups, and you could only build your Odyssey levels with this one theme, and you cannot switch between other themes to get to the Odyssey style. You have to build it from scratch there. This entire power-up section would likely be replaced with Mario's ability to use Cappy, as is the case in Super Mario Odyssey. Cappy acts as the power-up system in this game because you're allowed to capture enemies and use their abilities in similar ways to how power-ups worked in previous Mario games. For example, you don't need the Fire Flower because as Cappy, you could just capture a Fire Bro and start shooting fireballs like that. It would be very interesting to see Cappy implemented in this way because there are some enemies that are in Mario Maker that weren't included in Super Mario Odyssey that Mario would then be able to capture for the first time, and it'd be interesting to see how they would work. For example, the Bob-omb was not included in Mario Odyssey, but it is in Mario Maker, so if the Bob-omb was included in the Mario Odyssey style, then you would be able to capture it and then be able to blow up at a certain time. There is an enemy that does a similar job to the Bob-omb within Mario Odyssey, so perhaps the Bob-omb will be replaced by this enemy in a potential Mario Odyssey style. We've seen this with the 3D World theme, where some enemies appear to be replaced with ones that are more prominent within 3D World for that style. So I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo would go a similar route with Mario Odyssey and just make the enemies ones that are more native to those games, so maybe we don't see some of those unique Cappy combinations. Even if that's the case, it would be fun to see Cappy included anyways, just because it would differentiate more from the existing modes that are already in the game, which are all power-up based. Some more creativity could be used when implementing enemies in levels here, and maybe now for a question block that you put into a level, it could now be advantageous for somebody who's playing the level to hit the block and see an enemy pop out of it, because it would be very similar to a power-up for them. They could then capture that enemy and use its powers to help them progress throughout the level. Along with the inclusion of Cappy comes the inclusion of new moves in Mario's moveset. It appears that there's going to be some within the 3D World theme for Mario Maker 2, so it only makes sense for some of the unique moves included in Mario Odyssey to be included in an Odyssey theme in the game. One of these includes the throwing of Cappy and then jumping off of the cap, which could provide for some unique platforming challenges that require you to use Cappy to its fullest potential. There are some incredibly difficult levels within the Mario Maker communities, and you'll have to be able to use Mario's moveset to its complete potential in order to be able to progress throughout the level, and Cappy could provide an even wider array of possibilities for these levels. But let's not focus on Cappy for a little bit here, and instead I want to focus on the environments that you're going to be playing throughout this theme. specifically the level themes. We've seen some new ones implemented in Mario Maker 2, which is nice because it provides a wide array of possibilities for the creators to implement in their levels, but I think it would be very fun for the Odyssey theme to take a slight twist on this and provide its own spin on it by making the kingdoms representative of these level themes within the game. For example, the Sand Kingdom could be the desert theme in Mario Maker 2, which is recently added to the game. The Mushroom Kingdom could be used for the Plains theme. The Cloud Kingdom could be the air theme. The Snow Kingdom could be the snowy theme. You get my point. There's lots of similarities there. If Nintendo wanted to go even a step further, they could implement some more unique level themes from some of the Odyssey theme styles that aren't really representative in other Mario games. Take areas like Nudonk City or the Luncheon Kingdom, for example. What are some other minor things that I could see being included in this potential Odyssey theme? Well, for example, I think that red coins could definitely be changed into power moons to represent collecting them from the original Super Mario Odyssey into Mario Maker 2. It only makes sense to cross this over a little bit to further call back to the original game. Some objects throughout the world of Mario Odyssey that would be interesting to implement include the wire that you could capture to zoom up it to go on top of a building. You see these a lot in the Metro Kingdom and so on. It'd be interesting if you're put in a certain situation where you have to make a complicated jump to then use Cappy to capture this in order to avoid this section, which would otherwise lead to your demise. Another thing I would wonder about for the possibility of an Odyssey theme is how would damage work within those games? Would you have the health meter like you do have in Mario Odyssey? Or would it be more like the other 2D Mario styles? So that means they would have to change up how the Odyssey life system works. And maybe you could make Mini Mario a thing where once you get hit once, you go down and shrink in size, which was not actually seen in Mario Odyssey before you eventually die. If you do implement the health system, then that could lead to even more possibilities for challenges because Mario could take more hits from enemies. Perhaps you can implement a challenge where you would have to deep dive into the water in order to locate some moons, which is able to be done in Mario Maker 2 because you can now have both land and water in the same levels as each other, and if there's no cheap or anything like that to capture under there, you could potentially lose some health while underwater. Hearts would definitely be a new thing that should be implemented into Mario Maker 2 because that way you could allow people to restore their health through that method. They won't just have to rely on checkpoints and things like that. But while it's always fun to keep speculating about what a possible Odyssey theme could be like in Mario Maker 2, we just have to face the reality that it's probably not going to happen. If it ends up happening, I'm going to be insanely excited about this, but it's probably not going to because of some reasons that I've touched on already, such as 3D World being the closest 3D Mario game in the style of the 2D titles, and power-ups being something that are very prominent in all of the other styles in Super Mario Maker, and Nintendo would have to completely overhaul this in order to properly implement the Odyssey theme. If they didn't do this, then it wouldn't be true to the style of the original Mario Odyssey. It wouldn't be a genuine Odyssey theme that fans would want. But another reason on top of those two is that I think Nintendo has given us enough with this one new theme. That's one more new one than I was expecting. I was expecting a ton of new enemies and some new features to implement in Mario Maker 2. I wasn't even expecting a new game theme for a sequel's release, because I thought that Nintendo had their bases covered for game styles here, but 3D World just goes one step beyond. It's something completely outside of the box, as I talked about in my video about the real significance of Mario Maker 2, and it's something that nobody really saw coming. And out of all of the 3D Mario games over the years, none has been criticized more for being more like a 2D Mario game than anything else, as 3D World has. Unlike some critics, I believe that the fact that it's very close towards the style of a 2D Mario game is a good thing for 3D World. I enjoy both styles of 3D Mario very much, the sandbox style games like Odyssey and 64, as well as the games like 3D World and 3D Land, which are in a style that's closer to what the 2D Mario games provide. They're more about a fun multiplayer experience that involves shorter levels, and sometimes you just rather go through that than a long experience in one area. Both styles could be fun, but the point that I'm trying to make is that 3D World really works being implemented in Mario Maker 2 because it does a good job at being a 3D Mario game in a similar way to how 2D Mario games operated. Who knows, we could end up actually getting this Odyssey theme. A possible reason for why we don't know about it already is that they're saving it to reveal later on. If they were actually including an Odyssey theme in the game, and they wanted to show off one new game theme in the direct reveal, some people would think that they should have shown the Odyssey theme there, but this is why it wouldn't actually work. If you ended up revealing the Odyssey theme in the Direct and then showed off the 3D World theme later on, the 3D World theme reveal would have had much less impact because there are going to be more people interested in a theme around a more recent 3D Mario game as opposed to one that came out in 2013. People are getting excited about the 3D World theme reveal because it's the only one revealed so far and it makes a lot of sense. But I'm sure people would get a lot more excited about an Odyssey theme reveal, which is why if it were to hypothetically be in the game, Nintendo would be better off to reveal it second as opposed to first. Let me know how you think an Odyssey theme would potentially work in Mario Maker 2, and if you think it has any chance of getting included. Check out the previous video that I made about Mario Maker 2 where I go over the real significance of what's included in the trailer and the release of the game itself. Remember to subscribe and click the bell icon so that you don't miss any new videos. With that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.